This morning, before your phone lit up, before the world asked anything from you, there was a silent moment. No noise, no pressure, just you. And in that moment, you made a choice. Most people never notice it. That's why most people feel tired before the day even begins. Let me show you what that choice really is. The first key point is the voice you listen to first becomes the voice that shapes everything after. When you open your eyes in the morning, there is a fragile moment before the world rushes in. In that moment, your mind is not yet crowded. It is open, impressionable, almost innocent. Whatever speaks first leaves a mark. If the first voice is your phone buzzing, headline shouting, or someone else's urgency, your inner world quietly steps back. You don't notice it happening, but your own thoughts start taking instructions. And once that happens, the day is no longer something you lead, it's something you respond to. Most people don't realize how easily they hand over their inner authority. They think control is lost later in the day when things go wrong. But control is usually lost in the first few minutes after waking up. The mind is like a quiet room at dawn. If you walk in calmly, you can hear your own footsteps. But if you throw open the doors and let everyone else rush in, your own presence disappears. When you allow outside voices to enter first, your inner voice doesn't vanish, it just becomes softer, hesitant, unsure if it's allowed to speak at all. There is a subtle cost to ignoring your own voice early in the day. It shows up as self-doubt that seems to have no clear reason. It shows up as irritation that feels bigger than the situation. It shows up as feeling busy but not fulfilled. Your inner voice is the one that reminds you what matters, what doesn't, and who you are becoming. When it is silenced early, you spend the rest of the day reacting instead of choosing. You move faster, but you feel less grounded. You do more, but you feel less aligned. Listening inward first does not require silence or perfection. It only requires intention. It could be as simple as sitting up and noticing your breath, or asking yourself one honest question: how do I want to show up today? That question alone changes the tone of the day. It tells your mind that it is not a victim of circumstances. It tells your nervous system that there is no emergency yet. In that small pause, something steady forms, a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. Your inner voice is not loud. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't compete. It waits. And because it waits, many people mistake its patience for weakness. But that voice carries wisdom shaped by your experiences, your values, and your deeper understanding of life. When you listen to it first, decisions feel cleaner. Boundaries feel more natural. Even challenges feel less personal. You stop taking every event as a judgment of your worth because you started the day rooted in yourself. Think of your mind like a compass. If you don't check it early, you may walk confidently in the wrong direction all day. The world is full of opinions, comparisons, and expectations. None of them are evil, but none of them know you the way you do. When they speak first, they set the direction. When you speak first to yourself, you decide what deserves your energy. You begin the day from alignment instead of adjustment. This choice is small, but its impact is quiet and deep. When your inner voice leads, you become less reactive without trying. You don't need to force calm, it appears naturally. You don't need to search for motivation, clarity provides it. Even when the day becomes noisy, something inside you stays untouched. Not because the world became kinder, but because you met yourself before meeting the world. That early connection becomes a reference point you return to again and again. Over time, this practice reshapes your relationship with yourself. You start trusting your own judgment more. You hesitate less before doing what feels right. You don't need constant reassurance because you gave yourself attention when it mattered most. The day may still challenge you, distract you, test you, but it no longer defines you. Because the first voice you honored was your own. And once that habit forms, it quietly influences every thought, every reaction, every choice that follows. The second key point is that you don't wake up tired, you wake up unfocused, and there is a quiet difference between the two that most people never learn to hear. Tiredness feels heavy, but lack of focus feels restless. You wake up, your body is fine, yet your mind is already running. Thoughts pull you in 5 directions before your feet touch the floor. Yesterday's worries mix with today's plans and tomorrow's fears. You think you need more sleep, more coffee, more motivation, but what you actually need is direction. Without it, even a full night of rest can feel useless. I once met someone who slept 8 hours every night and still felt exhausted by noon. Not because their life was hard, but because their attention was scattered. They checked messages while brushing their teeth, skimmed headlines while eating, replayed conversations while driving. Their energy leaked everywhere. Focus is like a container. When it has holes, your strength drains out slowly, silently. You don't feel the loss immediately. You just feel empty by the time you need yourself the most. When the mind has no clear direction, it tries to hold everything at once. That effort alone is exhausting. Imagine carrying 10 grocery bags instead of deciding which 5 actually matter. Nothing is wrong with your arms. You're just holding too much. Many people confuse mental overload with laziness or weakness. It's neither. It's simply a mind that never learned how to choose where to stand. And every morning that lesson begins again. Focus is not intensity. It's simplicity. It's waking up and giving your mind one clear anchor. One thought, one intention, one reason to move forward. Without that anchor, your mind drifts. It reacts to whatever appears loudest. A notification, a memory, a comparison. The day then feels chaotic, not because it truly is, but because you entered it without a center. A ship without a compass doesn't need a storm to get lost. There was a woman who used to say she felt busy all day but accomplished nothing that mattered to her. She worked, she answered calls, she helped others, yet at night she felt strangely disappointed. When she looked closer, she realized her day belonged to everyone else. She never decided what deserved her best energy. Once she began choosing a single priority each morning, her pace slowed, but her fulfillment grew. Focus didn't make her faster. It made her intentional. A focused mind doesn't rush. It moves with quiet confidence. It knows where it's going, even if the path isn't clear yet. Distraction, on the other hand, creates urgency without purpose. You feel pressured, but you don't feel meaningful. That's why distraction is tiring. Not because it demands effort, but because it offers no reward. Your mind runs, but it never arrives. You don't need to control every thought to be focused. You just need to decide which thoughts deserve your attention. The rest can pass by like cars on a road. You don't chase each one. You don't argue with them. You simply stay where you are. This ability changes how the day feels in your body. Shoulders soften. Breathing deepens. Decisions stop feeling heavy. Focus becomes a form of kindness you offer yourself. When you wake up and choose focus, the day stops feeling like something that happens to you. It becomes something you participate in. Even problems feel smaller because your mind is no longer split. You give your full presence to one moment at a time. And in that presence, energy returns not as excitement, not as hype, but as steady strength that carries you forward hour by hour, task by task, thought by thought. The third key point is that discipline is not harsh. It is protective. And once you see it that way, your relationship with effort changes completely. Most people hear the word discipline and feel resistance in their chest. They picture force, restriction, and a life stripped of joy. But real discipline feels nothing like punishment. It feels like locking your door at night, not because you expect danger, but because you value what's inside. Discipline exists to guard your time, your energy, and your future from being carelessly spent. Think about the small moments where discipline quietly saves you. The night you choose to sleep instead of scrolling. The morning you get up when your body begs for comfort. The moment you pause before saying something you'll regret. No one applauds these moments. No one sees them. Yet they shape the direction of your life more than any dramatic decision ever will. Discipline doesn't shout. It whispers, "This matters more," and asks you to trust it. I once knew someone who avoided discipline because they thought it would make life rigid. They lived freely, saying yes to every impulse. Late nights, missed mornings, broken promises to themselves. At first, it felt exciting. Over time, when they finally introduced simple discipline, just waking up at the same time each day, their life didn't shrink, it expanded. They gained hours, clarity, and self-respect they didn't know they were missing. Discipline protects you from the version of yourself that acts on emotion alone. Emotions are honest, but they are not always wise. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel tired. Discipline steps in on the tired days and says, "We don't quit here," not harshly, gently, like a parent holding a child's hand while crossing a busy street. The child may not understand the danger, but the protection is still real. There's a strange relief in discipline when you stop fighting it. You no longer wake up negotiating with yourself. You no longer waste energy deciding the same things again and again. Your life gains structure, and structure creates freedom, like a river with banks. Your energy flows stronger when it's guided. Without discipline, energy spreads thin and disappears. With it, even small effort goes far. Discipline also protects your confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, something inside you grows steadier. You trust yourself a little more. And that trust becomes the foundation for bigger goals. People often chase confidence through achievement, but real confidence is built through consistency, through showing up on days when motivation is absent. Discipline teaches you that you don't need to feel ready to act responsibly. There will be days when discipline feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a sign of failure, it's a sign of growth. Just like muscles ache when they're strengthening, your habits resist when they're changing. Discipline doesn't remove discomfort from life, it prevents unnecessary suffering later. It's the quiet choice that saves you from the louder regret. And once you experience that protection enough times, discipline stops feeling like control and starts feeling like care. The fifth key point is that whatever you feed your mind first is what it keeps asking for all day. And this happens quietly, without permission, like a habit forming while you're not looking. The mind wakes up hungry, not for food, but for input. And the first thing you give it sets its appetite. If the first taste is chaos, urgency, comparison, or noise, your mind doesn't question it. It adjusts. It starts craving more of the same. By mid-morning, you wonder why you feel unsettled, distracted, slightly on edge, without knowing the hunger started hours ago. Think of the mind like soil at the start of a day. Fresh, untouched. Whatever you plant first begins to take root before anything else arrives. If the first seeds are fear, outrage, or endless information, they spread fast because nothing is competing with them yet. Later, when you try to focus or stay calm, you feel resistance, not because you are weak, but because the ground is already occupied. The mind doesn't easily switch diets once it's fed. I knew someone who began every morning scrolling through news updates. They told themselves they were staying informed, but by noon they felt tense, impatient, and heavy. Conversations felt shorter. Small problems felt larger. When they stopped and replaced that first habit with a few quiet minutes, just sitting, breathing, letting the day arrive slowly, the change surprised them. The world didn't become easier, but their mind became steadier. What you feed first doesn't just affect mood, it shapes perception. The mind is not logical when it comes to appetite. It doesn't crave what's best for it. It craves what's familiar. If you give it drama first, it looks for drama everywhere. If you give it calm first, it notices calm even in busy moments. This is why two people can live the same day and experience it completely differently. One is constantly triggered, the other is quietly observant. The difference often begins before breakfast. Feeding your mind well does not mean forcing positivity or pretending everything is fine. It means choosing nourishment over stimulation, a clear thought, a meaningful line, a moment of silence. These are not empty acts, they are mental nutrition. Just like the body reacts to sugar spikes and crashes, the mind reacts to emotional junk. You feel alert for a moment, then drained. Focus disappears, patience thins, and you blame the day instead of the diet. There was a student who complained they could never concentrate. Their mind jumped constantly. When they looked closer, they realized their mornings were filled with short videos, messages, and noise. Their mind had learned to expect constant novelty. When silence arrived, it felt uncomfortable, boring, almost painful. Once they changed the first input, reading a few pages, sitting quietly, even staring out the window, the discomfort faded. Their mind slowly relearned how to stay. What you feed your mind first also decides what feels normal to you. If you begin the day rushed, rushing feels right. If you begin the day grounded, chaos feels optional. This is not about controlling life. It's about setting an internal reference point, a starting tone. From that tone, you return again and again throughout the day, often without realizing it. Your mind will always ask for more of what it tasted first. More speed, more noise, more reassurance, or more clarity, more depth, more stillness. That craving shapes your choices hour by hour. And once you see this, mornings stop feeling ordinary. They become an opportunity to quietly guide your inner world before the outer world gets its turn. The sixth key point is that winning the day is not about doing more, it's about removing chaos. And this idea feels strange because most people were taught the opposite. They wake up believing the day will judge them by how much they accomplish, how busy they look, how many boxes they check. But busyness is not direction. Motion is not meaning. You can run all day and still feel like you went nowhere. The exhaustion you feel at night often has nothing to do with effort and everything to do with confusion. Chaos doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like constant switching. One task open, another unfinished. One thought interrupted by 10 others. You sit down to focus and suddenly remember something else you should be doing. The mind becomes a crowded room where everyone is talking at once. Doing more in that state only adds voices. Removing chaos means deciding who gets to speak and who can wait. It means letting one thing matter at a time, even if the world insists everything is urgent. Once knew someone who prided themselves on multitasking. They answered emails during meetings, planned tomorrow while finishing today, lived in a constant rush. From the outside, they looked productive. From the inside, they felt scattered and strangely dissatisfied. When they finally slowed down and chose to complete one thing fully before touching the next, their output didn't decrease, it improved. More importantly, their mind felt quieter. Chaos was not removed by effort, but by choice. There is a hidden peace in subtraction. When you remove unnecessary decisions, unnecessary commitments, unnecessary noise, you create space for clarity. That space is where focus lives. That space is where creativity breathes. Many people believe clarity comes after action. Often, it comes before. When you clear mental clutter, action becomes simpler. You stop forcing progress and start allowing it. Chaos also shows up in expectations, trying to be everything to everyone, trying to fix everything today, carrying problems that don't belong to you. Each of these adds weight. Removing chaos sometimes means disappointing people, saying no, letting things be imperfect. These choices feel uncomfortable at first because chaos is familiar. But familiarity is not the same as health. A quiet mind may feel empty at first, until you realize it's not empty, it's available. There was a man who used to start every day overwhelmed before it even began. His calendar was full, his phone never stopped, his thoughts raced ahead of him. One morning, instead of planning 10 things, he chose just one thing that truly mattered that day. He didn't ignore the rest. He simply refused to let them compete. That one decision changed the tone of his day. The other tasks still happened, but they no longer controlled him. Removing chaos doesn't make life smaller, it makes it clearer. You stop drowning in options and start moving with intention. Your energy stops leaking through distractions. You feel present instead of pressured. Even when the day is full, it no longer feels heavy. Because fullness without chaos feels purposeful, not overwhelming. When you understand that winning the day is about simplification, you stop chasing productivity and start cultivating presence. You measure success differently, not by how much you survived, but by how aligned you felt while moving through it. And that alignment quietly changes how you show up, how you decide, how you carry yourself through every hour that follows. The seventh key point is that one small choice, when repeated, slowly becomes your life. And this truth is both comforting and confronting at the same time. Comforting because it means you don't need to change everything today. Confronting because it means you can no longer blame a single bad day or a single hard year. Life is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in patterns so quiet you almost miss them. And every pattern begins with something small that felt insignificant at the time. Most people wait for motivation to change, not realizing that repetition creates motivation, not the other way around. The first time you choose awareness over autopilot, it feels awkward. The second time, it feels intentional. Over time, it feels natural. The mind learns through repetition, not inspiration. Just like a path appears in a field when people walk the same route again and again, your character forms through the choices you make when no one is watching. I once met someone who believed they had a discipline problem. They felt inconsistent, unreliable to themselves. When we looked closer, there was no lack of ability. There was only a lack of repetition. They would try something once, maybe twice, then abandon it when the feeling faded. When they committed to one small habit, 5 minutes of quiet each morning, their self-trust began to rebuild. Not because the habit was impressive, but because it was kept. Repetition healed what motivation never could. Small choices shape identity. When you repeatedly choose presence, you become someone who is present. When you repeatedly choose responsibility, you become someone who can be trusted. When you repeatedly choose patience, patience stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like nature. Identity is not declared, it is practiced. And every practice begins with a single, often boring decision. There is a man who walks the same road every morning at the same time. At first, it was just a walk. Over the years, it became a ritual. That walk became the place where he thought clearly, made decisions, and processed life. People saw the results: calm confidence, steady leadership, but they never saw the repetition that built it. They assumed it was talent. It was habit. Quiet, uncelebrated habit. Repetition also works in the opposite direction. Small neglected choices repeat too. Avoiding discomfort once makes it easier to avoid again. Ignoring your inner voice once makes it quieter the next time. This is not punishment, it's conditioning. The mind follows the path it knows. That's why change feels hard at first. You're not fighting who you are, you're interrupting who you've been practicing. The power of repetition is that it removes pressure. You stop trying to transform overnight. You stop demanding perfection. You focus on showing up. Some days you show up well, some days you show up poorly, but you show up. And that consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates courage. None of this happens loudly. It happens slowly, then suddenly feels obvious. When you understand that your life is shaped by repeated small choices, the present moment becomes valuable, not dramatic. Valuable. Each choice carries weight because it carries direction. You are not deciding just for today. You are practicing who you are becoming. And once that realization settles in, even the smallest decision begins to feel meaningful, not heavy, but quietly powerful. When you step back and look at it all, nothing here was about changing your entire life in one morning. It was about something quieter, something more honest. The understanding that your days are shaped long before they feel busy, long before problems appear, long before motivation fades. They are shaped in the small, almost invisible moments when you choose how to begin, how to focus, how to respond, and how to care for your inner world. Those moments don't demand effort. They ask for awareness. Life will still be imperfect. People will still test your patience. Plans will still change without asking you. But you don't need perfect conditions to feel steady. You only need a center. And that center is built when you stop rushing past yourself. When you allow your mind to settle before it scatters. When you protect your energy instead of explaining why you lost it. Over time, this creates a quiet confidence, not loud, not showy, but dependable. The kind that doesn't collapse under pressure. You don't need to remember every word you heard today. You only need to remember the feeling of choosing consciously instead of automatically. That feeling is your anchor. Return to it when the day pulls you in too many directions. Return to it when you feel overwhelmed for no clear reason. Every time you do, you strengthen something within you that cannot be taken away. Not because everything is under control, but because you are.